Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making some easy DIY home decor for this fall season. We're going to do it on a budget, going to keep it simple. Let's get to these fun DIYs. Up first, I have a couple of these ceramic pumpkins. They are originally from the Dollar Tree. I had previously painted them, and when I was pulling out my fall decor, I pulled out a few things that I didn't really like anymore. Instead of getting rid of them, I decided to redo them. I have this fabric scrap from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to do some coordinating things with the fabric for the pumpkins. So you'll see it all come together in a minute. So I mixed up a couple of yellows I had that I thought matched the yellow in the fabric pretty well. So we're going to paint one of the pumpkins with that. This took a couple of coats, but these pumpkins were previously painted and probably Mod Podged. So it just took a couple of coats, and plus this was just acrylic paint. But I love to mix up my own colors to coordinate with what I'm trying to do. And this is fun because then you can kind of change up some of your decor each year if you want. When you're just making it yourself, you know, it's easy to do that on a budget. Just change it up if you get bored. So that's what I'm doing. So we're doing another one in a coordinating blue. I had not mixed that paint very well, and there was a lot of liquid in there, so cleaning that out. But I was, once again, trying to coordinate the blue that was in the material I had shown you, and we're going to paint the other pumpkin in that blue color. But it was a little too blue, so I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a color artist major, but I knew that it needed a little bit of green. I do remember some things, you know, from art in elementary school, right? So anyways, I just mixed up my colors, just using what I had on hand. Didn't buy anything for these. This is a craft my stash, use what I have, making over some things that I already have on hand. And it's a great way to do some decor on a budget. So we're gonna give this one I think only took 2 coats just because, I don't know why, but it didn't take quite as many. But you can do any color scheme that you want and just match your own decor. These pumpkins do have a little bit of a carved indentation there. You could go back and highlight them if you wanted, but I really just wanted like the simple color, but you can still see the etching in there. I used my heat gun to dry it in between. That just helps speed it up, especially the bottom, so that I could set that down because I didn't want the whole thing painted because I wanted it to look like it was originally this color. And then I did go in with some brown paint and painted the stem of the pumpkin. I am really, I've said this a lot in my videos, so sorry for the repetitiveness if you've been watching, but craft my stash and work through my stuff. So I have lots of paint that's like almost done, and I'm kind of just choosing stuff based on what needs to be used up at times. I'm wanting to throw out some of these bottles of paint, so I just used whatever color brown I had on hand. I would really like to get a new chalk paint in brown, but not until I use up some of this other paint that I have on hand. So brown stem and coordinating colors for another piece that we're going to be making later in this video. These pumpkins will be a great accent. If you're new to my channel, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for being here. My name is Leanne, and I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs here on this channel. I do a lot of Dollar Tree, but also Hobby Lobby clearance, thrift flips, whatever I've got that's on a budget. I love sharing those with you. So for these pumpkins, I decided to seal this in with my clear wax by Waverly. Once again, it's almost gone and I'm trying to use it up, but so is my Mod Podge. So I'm trying to just use up these bottles. So the clear wax is great. You're supposed to brush it on and then let it, I think, dry and then buff it out. I had to buff it a little bit because I was in a hurry to get these done and I needed to set the bottom down. I did want to seal the bottom because, you know, this is going to be on the surfaces and I didn't want, you know, when I set it on a shelf or whatever, and I didn't want it to chip off. But I did let the rest of the wax dry for a little bit before I grabbed it and buffed it out. I did use a paper towel. You can also use like a lint-free cloth, which is probably better than using a paper towel, which is what I usually do, but I didn't this time. Anyways, I did let it dry just a little bit and buffed it out, and then I did go back like the next day and buffed it again. Anyways, all right, we're going to move on to a little bit of embellishment. I have this burlap leaf. This is from the Dollar Tree. It originally came on like a metal stem of some kind, which honestly just came off them super easy. It had fallen off it on its own. But I'm going to trim off part of this oak leaf to make little leaves for my pumpkins. I just thought that would be a really fun embellishment. So just a little itty bitty leaf, careful not to burn yourself.
I use a little tool to kind of press that down because obviously it'll come through the burlap. And then I'm just going to tie on a little raffia. I tied it first because I thought it would be easier. And I'm tying it on the base of the stem, and so I needed to use some hot glue, otherwise the raffia would just keep riding up on the stem. So I did just a little bit of hot glue around the base, and that just kind of helped secure it in place to give the look I wanted. But you could use some yarn, some twine, some ribbon, some scrap fabric. Use whatever you've got. That is my motto. I had just kind of wrapped this around, so I had little loops on the end. Oh, I did put a little glue in the knot because and then I cut off the loops and trimmed it down. I didn't want to double knot it to secure it on there because I thought that would be too bulky with the raffia. So I just put some glue in there. And then I grabbed a little pine cone. I think this is from a vase filler from Dollar Tree. It was actually in my decor, like inside of a lantern, but I just grabbed a couple of them and pulled them out. And I did trim down the end a little bit with my wire cutters just to make it lay a little bit flatter. And then I decided I wanted just a little bit more raffia there, so I just put some more hot glue and tucked it in. But you're just going to use whatever you've got. Just use the things you've got. But this is how my pumpkins came out, and I love these colors. It's not my typical colors that I use for fall, but you're going to see why I went this route here in just a second. And it's fun to change up your decor. So I have this wood piece. This is from the Dollar Tree. It was previously used. I did sand it down, but it's just one of those like house-shaped pieces from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to apply some Mod Podge. I'm trying to not get it on the edges because I don't want anything to accidentally stick to the edges. So we're going to give this a very good coat of Mod Podge because we're going to be adhering some fabric. Now, I often show you the iron-on method for fabric, and you can do that, and that would work great on the wood. But I didn't this time, just because I didn't. It was a pretty easy piece to work with. The fabric here is really easy to work with. I didn't have a lot of trouble or any trouble with wrinkling, but the iron-on method is also a really great option. And for some materials, it works a lot better, but I didn't have any problems this way. So we're just going to go apply a very, very thick layer of Mod Podge on top of the fabric as well. And then we're going to let that completely dry. When it completely dries, it will become very hard and it'll be a lot easier to trim our fabric piece down. So just make sure you go all the way to the edges. When you do this, it's very important so that you have a nice firm line to trim it down with. So that's what I'm doing. Now it is all dry. You can see through it a little bit. You can see the wood color. You could paint it way underneath if you wanted, but that wasn't bothering me. And I'm trimming it down. I'm just using scissors. I have used sandpaper on fabric, although I'll be honest, it doesn't always work super great. You could also use a sharp utility knife or something, but I'm just using my scissors and I'm just going along the edges, kind of changing how I'm holding it. Now, this house sign would be a great double-sided sign if you wanted to DIY the other side. I was going to, but ran out of time. So we're just going to trim our fabric down, being really careful at the bottom because obviously I need this to lay flat when it's standing up, so I don't want anything getting in the way. I have another one of those fabric leaves from the Dollar Tree, or burlap leaves rather, and it was really like the perfect size to fit on this house. I just hot glued a little bit at a time. Again, be very careful because it will come through the other side. So I just did a little bit and just dabbed it on gently. And I only did a little bit at a time because it needed to be at a certain angle for it to fit, but it's also very easy to trim down. But I did go ahead and hot glue that because we're going to add some words on top. And because the fabric was so busy, I needed something there to kind of pop. And these words are from Hobby Lobby, and they come in a pack with some natural colored ones and some orange. And I just love the layering, the different textures. I feel like that can make your DIYs look a little bit more high-end, a little bit more store-bought, less homemade, when you just add some of those little subtle details. And I thought that was really nice. So it is a little hard. I don't have a fine tip, like precision point hot glue gun. So I was just trying to get hot glue where I could to get it stick, and then use my little pick tool to pick out any glue while it was still warm. And I love how this one came out. I feel like the burlap leaf added some really nice texture and layering, to the piece, but it also helped the words really pop out. And so that was really fun for me. And see how well these pieces coordinate and look together. Let me know what you think of this fun color combo. This next one is really just using things I had on hand. It's going to be super quick, but I thought I'd just share this idea with you. I had this jar vase thing from, I don't remember where, maybe Hobby Lobby clearance. Some pumpkins from Dollar Tree. I think the acorns are from Hobby Lobby, but Dollar Tree has them as well. These are lights that I got from Dollar Tree. And I just wanted to show you how easy it is to kind of make a little home decor piece. There's no painting, there's no glue involved here. It's really simple. I also had some pine cones in my stash, and I just pulled out some pumpkins and colors that I thought went well together. These pumpkins have different textures. Some are more velvet, some are like more of a knit, waffle knit almost material, and just kind of put the lights down in there and alternated the pumpkins, the pine cones, threw in a few of those acorns, and it's really easy to make a nice home decor piece. This does not take any skill or, any glue, anything permanent. Really easy to do and super fun to do. Here's how it looks a little bit more with the lights off. It's still a little bit bright in there, but anyways, I just thought I'd share this quick idea with you as well. All right, so now I have this acorn. This is from the Dollar Tree. I love it. I think it's pretty. So I left the front and we're just going to do the back side. And so I started out by painting the bottom. I'm using my antique wax because I'm trying to use up what I have. But there's that little square or rectangle there where the sticker was. There's no more stickiness on it, but the antique wax didn't give it the coverage I needed. I know this isn't how you're supposed to use antique wax, but I don't always follow rules. So that's what I did. And I realized it needed another coat. So instead of using more of my antique wax, I dried it down and went in with some paint. I dried it down just to make sure, and I was like, yeah, it's not going to work. So you can see this brown paint is almost done, but ended up being a really good color for this acorn. So I did another coat on the bottom here. Now, I left the stem with just the antique wax because I didn't need that to be the exact same color as the bottom of the acorn. But I just wanted to show you how you could take a Dollar Tree piece or something maybe you find at the thrift store, and you just do a couple little things to change it up. And it doesn't have to be hard or a huge ordeal, but just switch it up. So for the top of the acorn, I thought the texture of the burlap would be great. So I have this light colored burlap, just a little scrap of it, and I'm just tracing out approximately the size that we need. We're going to need to trim it down some more, but I just used my pen to do the kind of the outline. I left the bottom as is, and we'll go back and fix that, trace that out and get that down. So I thought a great way to use up some scrap of burlap. I thought the texture of this was nice. I thought the color contrast was nice, but there's so many different things. My friend Kendra recently did an acorn video. I think was it called an acorn video, or it had a lot of acorns in it? I'll try to remember link it down below for you, but her channel name is Late Night Creations, and she did lots of different ideas for acorns. So if you want some more, check her out. I love pumpkins, and I feel like you can't really ever have too many pumpkins, but it is nice to have other things like acorns and pine cones and leaves, other things in our fall decor. And I also think it's nice to have some neutral pieces. I love traditional colors when it comes to fall, but it's nice to have some neutrals to mix in there. It's also nice to have some things without words. So, okay, back to the acorn. You can see I got my piece trimmed down and I'm putting Mod Podge. I was careful to only put Mod Podge on the place where I wanted it in case I needed to trim the burlap down again, which I did a little bit, and I didn't want it to accidentally stick where I didn't want it to. So then we're going to do a thick coat of Mod Podge on top to really soak through that burlap. This DIY, I decided to not have any words on because, like I said, sometimes you need a little break from it. I like words, but sometimes I'm like, when I go to decorate, I'm like, okay, everything I have has words. This seems a little busy to put them near each other. So for this one, our first DIYs, I went a little bit more bright and bold, but then I wanted to do a neutral one. But any of these, you can change up any color and theme that you want. If you want to do a little bit more shabby chic, if you want to do a little bit more glam, go ahead and glam it up. You do your style. I do love these little tiny precision scissors from the Dollar Tree. They are a great tool and very helpful for trimming up some things. I use them all of the time. So once that was fully dry, I went ahead and trimmed around the outside there. And then I did go ahead and put some Mod Podge on the bottom or on the rest of the acorn because I just wanted it to have that finish. So I used a matte finish Mod Podge on the rest of it, and that'll just help it last a little longer. But it looked a little boring. So I've got this scrap of the burlap oak leaf, and I wanted to add a little more detail while still keeping it neutral. And I thought, let me trim down this oak leaf piece. You could just use a regular piece of burlap, but I liked this because it's stiffer, so it was a little bit easier to work with and to shape. But you could also put a piece of ribbon. Just again, those layers and the different textures really will help elevate your projects in the most subtle of ways. But I thought that this was a really nice addition to put on the bottom of the cap of the acorn. And then once again, just going to trim that down. But I love how this piece came out. It's a very fun, simple, but also neutral piece, but it's got some detail, it's got some layering, it's got some texture. So even if you go with a neutral palette, there's still a lot of things you can do. You could add a bow on this if you wanted. There's lots of things you can still do to add detail and interest, and I thought that this went well with the other piece that we put together.
Well, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. That helps out my channel so much. And if you're new here, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave so that you don't miss out on my future videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.